Hello everybody, what's going on? Nexy is here. I hope you guys are excited. We are just 48 hours away from Diablo 2 Resurrected. That's quite the pressure for my Trap Assassin guide here, and I still have to finish the Barbarian guide. So with that being said, we'll see if I can make the Barbarian guide in time. As for this video here, we are going to be focusing only on traps. I was considering martial arts, but not only is it really bad, but due to time constraints and how close we are to Resurrected, I figured it's not worth making a second assassin to gear up and get through the game with martial arts, and instead I should just focus that time into the Barbarian to make sure you Barbarian players out there have some good information out there from my videos. Otherwise you would have to wait until at least a few days after Resurrected. So with that being said, I hope the few of you that did request martial arts in this guide, I hope you're not too disappointed. I will cover martial arts a little bit later after release, but for this guide specifically for beginners from Normal Act 1 to Hell Act 5, I want to focus specifically on traps because not only, again, time constraints, but also traps are 100 times better than martial arts. So with that being said, let's get straight into this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. So the Trap Assassin is an amazing build from start to finish. You want to start off with the Fire Trapsin build using Fire Blast, which has decent damage and great AoE, and then once you unlock Burst of Speed at level 6, you're going to find yourself firing Kobes so fast that even Honda from Street Fighter will struggle to keep up with your attacks. Now, once you reach level 12 and unlock Wake of Fire, the Trap Assassin really begins to pick up in speed. You can lay up to 5 traps in total, and you can move or cast other skills such as Fire Blast while those traps are doing damage in a large radius. Now, once you get around level 35 or so, you should really respec into the Light Trap Assassin build, because most fire builds start to fall off big time once you get into Nightmare Act 4, and especially in Hell mode, due to monsters having high fire resistance and fire immunities. The Light Trap Assassin uses a combination of 4 lightning sentries with 1 death sentry to explode corpses for massive damage, and when you're against difficult monsters, you can also shockweb for extra damage, and mind blast to mind control monsters, making them very convenient distractions and temporary tanks. So with that being said, let's take a look at how the Trap Assassin's built, and honestly it's really simple and easy to follow. From level 2 to 4, you want to put all of your points into Fire Blast. The Den of Evil quest will also give you an extra skill point, which should also go into Fire Blast. At level 5, you want to put a point into Claw Mastery, because this is required to unlock Burst of Speed. Burst of Speed is not only going to give you a burst of movement speed, but also increased attack speed to allow you to attack much faster. Now you want to put 2 points into this at level 6 and 7, and then at level 8 you can put a point back into Fire Blast, and then from 9 to 11 you want to go Burst of Speed again for a total of 5 points. Now the reason why you want 5 points into Burst of Speed is because this is going to allow you to hit the break point with a dagger. So basically without Burst of Speed, your frames to cast Fire Blast and traps will be 13 frames, but with 5 points of Burst of Speed combined with a dagger, that will go down to 10 frames, which is a huge difference in attack speed. From level 12 onward, you're going to want to pick up Wake of Fire. This is going to be your fire trap, and you'll only be using Wake of Fire from here on out with every single level. If you get any spare points, such as Radamant in Act 2, or the Iswal quest in Act 4, just put those spare points into Fire Blast if you cannot put them into fire traps. Now again, once you hit around level 35, or when you kill Nightmare Mephisto, this is when you should really respec into Lightning Traps. And if we look over to the right side, we have the Lightning Traps build. The first thing you want to do here is put 1 into Mind Blast, so you can stun monsters and mind control them, so you are able to have some tanks for you besides your mercenary. You want to put 6 points into Burst of Speed here, not 5, and the reason why is because you'll eventually be using a Crystal Sword Spirit, and that's going to require 6 points of Burst of Speed in order to maintain that 10 frames attack. After this, max out Lightning Sentry until you can no longer put points into it. Then you want to max out Death Sentry, and then every spare point should go into Shockweb, and then if you can't put any more, max out Charge Bolt Sentry. As you level up, make sure you're putting every point into Lightning Sentry, same priority as you can see on the screen, maxing Lightning Sentry first, then Death Sentry, then Shockweb, and then Charged Bolt Sentry. One more thing I want to mention, which I kind of forgot, is that Burst of Speed, the 5 points, isn't just with the dagger. You actually only need 2 points into Burst of Speed to get 10 frames with the dagger, but at level 19, you'll be using a Leaf Staff, which is slower than a dagger, and that's why you need 5 points. So 2 points of Burst of Speed for the dagger, 5 points of burst of speed for a leaf staff, and then 6 points of burst of speed when you respec because of the spirit sword. So it's all about keeping that 10 frames attack speed on your traps and your fire blast and your shockweb, and then once of course you get better gear, more attack speed on other items, you'll be attacking even faster. Now finally we've got the stats. Assassin doesn't really need a lot of strength or dexterity early on, so you can actually afford to put 5, 10, or 15 points into energy right at the start. This will allow you to use more value out of your potions, because what happens is once you hit full mana, your potions stop regenerating. So it's really important to have a little bit extra energy, not only for those potions to give you more value, but it's also good just so you can continuously spam your fire blasts. Traps are also pretty expensive as well, with 13 mana cost, so having the extra energy will be great there as well, so you can lay down 5 traps without going out of mana. After this, all you really need to do is make sure that you have 25 strength before you hit Act 2, because there's a belt in Act 2, or Charcy if you're lucky and she sells it, that requires 25 strength. Next, you want 34 strength or 47 strength at level 21 for your Ancient's Pledge shield. Depends on if you get the kite shield or the large shield from Farah in Act 2. That's going to determine whether you get 34 strength or 47 right away at 21. Ultimately though, you need 43 strength at level 25 for the Spirit Crystal Sword, which we'll go into much later in the gearing department. So overall, that's the Trap Assassin build. Now let's get straight into what you should be looking for and when and how you should be doing things going from normal Act 1 to Hell Act 5. So after you've completed the Den of Evil quest, buy a dagger from Charcy if you didn't find one in the Den of Evil. Trap skills not only use an increased attack speed, but your weapon speed is also a factor. If you want to learn more about the Assassin's attack speed breakpoints, I'll have a link to an attack speed calculator in the video description. Speaking of Charcy, whenever you're in town, you'll also want to quickly check her for a 2-socketed armor and 2-socketed helmet. The 2-socketed armor will be used to craft the Stealth Rune Word, which is going to be your best armor until Nightmare. The 2-socketed helmet will be used for fire resistance against Shamans, Venom Lords, and Diablo himself in Acts 3 and 4. Their fire skills are devastating if you have low fire resistance, so you'll want to socket the helmet with any spare Ralrines you find. Additionally, you'll also want to buy a 2-socketed short staff from Akara. Make sure this is a short staff, not a long staff, because the short staff has faster attack speed. Additionally, make sure to buy one without any class skills on it, because this is the only way it's going to cost a few hundred gold instead of 1,000 or more gold. The 2-socketed short staff is going to be used to craft the Leaf Rune Word, which will be your best weapon until you make the Spirit Sword. Now, once you get to the Black Marsh, you'll want to start doing tower runs. A tower run is pretty easy. Just take the Black Marsh waypoint, find the Forgotten Tower, and kill the Countess on the 5th floor. The Countess is the best place to find runes this early into the game, and Trapsins are going to need a Tal Rune and Eth Rune to make the Stealth Rune Word, and a Tyr Rune and Ral Rune to make the Leaf Rune Word. The Countess is fire enchanted, making her take much less damage from your fire blast and fire traps, so I recommend using any strangling gas potions on your weapon swap so you can kill her and her minions much faster. Before you engage Andoriel, make sure to drink a few antidote potions for increased poison resistance. Andoriel takes 50% more fire damage, so you shouldn't have any difficulty with her, especially if you already have fire traps, so you can move around and dodge her attacks. The first thing you want to do when you reach Act 2 is buy a belt from Farah if you don't have one already. Next, hire a mercenary from Graze. Act 2 mercenaries are by far the best as they deal the most damage, can tank for you, and they provide an aura that buffs you and your party. Honestly, I usually just hire the highest level, usually combat or defensive, simply because as a Trapsin, the aura really doesn't matter, so just pick whatever you want, but I do recommend highest level that's available. Whenever you're in town in Act 2, check Farah for a 3-socketed large shield or kite shield. As I mentioned earlier, this is going to be used for your Ancient's Pledge when you get to Act 5. Before you enter Duriel's chamber, give you and your mercenary a few thawing potions. This is going to increase your cold resistance, which will help you against Duriel, because this is going to prevent him from two-shotting you or your mercenary. Even if your mercenary dies, you should be able to lay down traps and avoid most of his attacks. So now that you're in Act 3, the first thing you should do is look at Heraltly and see if he has a poleaxe to give your mercenary if he needs a better weapon. You can also now check Ormus for a staff with teleport charges. The teleport staff helps get over annoying terrain, can be used to reposition yourself and your mercenary, and it helps speed up travel time, especially for Magic Find runs since you don't have an Enigma yet. If you don't have the gold for it right now, you can also shop it later in the other acts. If you're not level 23 by the time you reach Travancore, I recommend going back and doing temple runs. To do a temple run, just take the Cross Bazaar waypoint and kill the boss pack inside the ruined temple. You want to continue doing this until you're level 23 or 24. This is important because you want to be at least level 23 in Act 4 and at least level 25 in Act 5 to avoid a severe experience penalty. When you're fighting Mephisto, you can actually drag him down to the moat and then quickly run around to the other side or teleport across. This will cause Mephisto to get stuck on the moat, and with enough distance, you should be able to lay your traps and kill him without him attacking you. When you first get to Act 5, make sure you're at least level 25 and don't buy anything. The cost of everything in Act 5 is doubled until you complete the first quest, so you'll want to go back to Act 4 to buy your potions. When you kill Shank the Overseer to complete the first quest, the item prices go back to normal and you'll unlock the ability to socket an item, which I recommend saving for later. Once you have the Frigid Highlands waypoint, I recommend farming Eldritch for golden experience. Bale runs are very well known and they're great, but they're not only less efficient than Eldritch runs, but every time you do an Eldritch run, they're super fast, and this will mean that you have to make a new game constantly, which is actually good, because Mala is who you need to shop at every time you make a new game, because she sells a wand with lower resist charges. Being able to curse bosses and boss packs with lower resist will significantly boost your elemental damage. The lower resist wand is level 36 when you buy it from Mala, so if you're below level 36, you can actually save time at the shop by only looking at the red wands available since you can't even equip it yet. Now, once you have that lower resist wand, you can continue farming Eldritch for more experience, or you can move on to completing Act 5 and then doing Bale runs in addition to the Eldritch runs if that's what you want to do. The second quest gives you 3 runes, Ral, Ort, and Tal. Take the 3-socketed shield you bought earlier and socket Ral, Ort, Tal to craft your Ancient's Pledge. Ancient's Pledge is a significant boost in resistance for your journey through Nightmare and Hell. Once you reach the Ariat Summit, make sure to leave a town portal just outside in the Ancient's Way. Activating the Ancient's fight removes all town portals in the summit, and if you open a town portal during the fight's going to reset, so you want your town portal outside in the Ancient's Way just in case you die. If the Ancients target you instead of your mercenary, run around in a small circle so your traps can still hit all 3 Ancients. When you clear the throne room of monsters, Bale will laugh and 5 waves will spawn. You shouldn't have much issue with the waves, but if you do, just kite them around the bottom half of the room to avoid Bale's Decrepify curse, or if you want to skip the wave entirely, you can lure them out of the main throne room and then sprint or teleport back up. If the minions don't follow you back into the room, the wave will skip and you will be able to fight the next one. When you're fighting Bale, drink thawing potions beforehand to reduce his cold damage. By defeating normal Bale, you can now open the secret Cal level in normal by cubing a Tome of Town portal with Wirt's Leg in Act 1. You should clear the secret Cal level until you find a crystal sword with no sockets. Any crystal sword from the Cal level in normal is guaranteed to get 4 sockets when you use your socket quest, which is a great way to make the Spirit Rune Word early. At this point, you should be around level 30, and you can now hop right into Nightmare since Trapsin is actually that strong. However, if you're a new player, I recommend just farming normal Bale and Eldritch until at least 35. Bale and Eldritch runs can get you into the 40s, so it's really up to you when you're ready for Nightmare. So now that we're ready for Nightmare, let's take a look at some of the items and rune words that will help us progress through both Nightmare and Hell mode. Lore is a rune word crafted by socketing Ort and Soul into a 2-socketed helmet. This is a quick and easy way to get 1 to all skills, lightning resistance, and damage reduction. Rhyme is a rune word crafted by socketing Shale and Ethrune into a 2-socketed shield. Ancient's Pledge gives more resistances, but you might prefer the Rhyme since the Cannot Be Frozen effect removes the reduced attack and movement speed from being frozen, plus the Magic Find is a nice bonus. Spirit is a rune word crafted by socketing Tal, Thal, Ort, and Amn runes into a 4-socketed sword or shield. Spirit is the best caster weapon early on, and it should last you a very long time. If you want one as soon as possible, take that crystal sword from the Cal level, or longsword or broadsword from the cow level, and use your socket quest to give it 4 sockets. Insight is a rune word crafted by socketing Ral, Tyr, Tau, and Sol into a 4-socketed polearm. Keep in mind, Insight cannot be crafted in spears, which is a common rookie mistake. This is one of the best weapons for your mercenary early on, due to its high damage and meditation aura, which boosts your mana regeneration. If you have trouble finding a 4-socketed polearm in Nightmare, you can always go back to normal cows and then use a socket quest to give it 4 sockets. Strength is a rune word crafted by socketing Amn and Tyr into a 2-socketed weapon. There will be a few bosses in Hell mode where your mercenary having Crushing Blow can make the fight significantly easier, so you might want a strength in your stash in preparation for these fights. Treachery is crafted by socketing Shale, Thal, and Lem into a 3-socketed armor. The Venom proc adds 300 poison damage to melee attacks, and the Fade proc increases all resistances by 60, as well as a hidden 15% physical damage reduction bonus. This makes Treachery one of the best armors for mercenaries, and with the 2 assassin skills, it's also one of the best budget armors for assassins as well. Smoke is crafted by socketing Neff and Lum into a 2-socketed armor. Smoke's 50 res makes it a great alternative to Treachery. Other than the Lem and Lum runes, the runes required for these items drop commonly from the Nightmare Countess, so if you want most of these rune words as soon as possible, farming Nightmare Tower is your best bet. Also, it's worth noting that the vendors in Nightmare will start selling gloves with 20% increased attack speed, so you might want to take a look at the vendors whenever you're in town, just in case they happen to pop up. When you get to Nightmare Act 2, I recommend replacing your mercenary with a new one. Trapsin should hire a defensive Nightmare Act 2 mercenary because Holy Freeze Aura will slow the attack and movement speeds of enemies around him, making it much easier for you to keep your distance as well as reducing the amount of damage you and your mercenary take. Nightmare Ancients requires level 40 to complete. You'll want to kill Madoc last because he has high lightning resistance. If any of them have lightning enchanted or spectral hit, you should make a town portal to reset the fight and continue doing so until none of them have those modifiers. When you start the fight, I recommend running to a corner, and once they follow, teleport or sprint across to the other side. Hopefully, creating this distance will cause only 1 or 2 of the Ancients to follow you and get into a fight. I used a wand with life tap charges to keep my mercenary alive, which allowed him to tank longer, but even if you don't have a life tap wand, you can just lower resist and run in circles while your lightning sentries kill them. Bale's minions shouldn't be too much of an issue. Just make sure to refresh your traps before the wave spawns, and then use Mind Blast to keep them stunned. I recommend doing Nightmare Bale and Eldritch runs until at least level 65 before going into Hell mode. Nightmare Bales can get you to around level 78, so feel free to continue farming for loot and experience. Alright, we're going to take a look at what my Assassin's gear is going into Hell mode. We've got Saigon's gloves here, some random rings, a random belt, and Saigon's boots. This is going to help me give my gloves 30% attack speed. We've got the Rhyme with the Cannot Be Frozen, we've got the Lore, the Stealth, and we've got the Spirit Sword here. So honestly, like, pretty budget gear here, no Treachery, no Smoke. The Treachery's on my mercenary with some Crushing Blow, and we've also got an Insight here, as I mentioned earlier, a great mercenary weapon other than the Strength, if that's what you want to use for Crushing Blow. But really, the Assassin is really easy to get through Hell mode with very budget gear, as you just saw. So if you don't want to stay around in Nightmare, you should be perfectly fine. Her damage is insane. When it comes to Hell mode, the biggest issue for the Trap Assassin is immunities. Trapsins will have to skip monsters that are lightning immune, but other than that, you shouldn't have too much difficulty getting through Hell mode. The first main challenge for the Trapsin in Hell is Travancore, in Act 3 in general for that matter, due to so many monsters being immune to lightning. The Zealots in the surrounding area, and most of the council members, are immune to lightning, so I recommend creating new games until you get a Travancore where there's hardly any monsters around, and Torque Ice Fist is at the front. The reason you want Torque Ice Fist specifically is because he's the one that drops Khalim's Flail, and you can kill him with lightning skills. So if you can lure him away from the rest of the council members, you can kill him alone, craft the flail, and then quickly sneak in and smash the orb. You won't have the Travancore quest completed, but this will allow you to head down and kill Mephisto to unlock Act 4. Now, if you don't want to do this skip, and you actually want to complete the quest, then try to fight each council member one at a time. Lower resist should be able to break the lightning immunity, but your damage will be very low. You may want to consider using a life tap wand to keep your mercenary alive while he does most of the damage, but simply put, you probably need a mercenary that's geared to the teeth if you plan to get through Travancore without doing the skip. When it comes to the Chaos Sanctuary, I recommend starting with Infector of Souls at the bottom right first, and then Lord Desays at the top right afterward. This order is important because they can spawn with 2 immunities. Hopefully your mercenary is strong enough to kill them, otherwise if they are immune to lightning, you're going to have to leave the game and start all over again. For the Hell Ancients fight, you need to be at least level 60. If you want to make sure your mercenary survives, you can make him immune to melee damage by bugging him. To do this, take the Inner Cloister waypoint and go down to the jail level 3. When you come back up, close the door behind you to trap your mercenary in the small area, then run across so he disappears out of range. When he reappears, he should be bugged. Before you fight the Ancients, drop a bunch of potions on the ground just in case you need them, and equip your mercenary with any items that have Crushing Blow, since it deals massive damage to bosses. When you spawn the Ancients, quickly mouse over them and check their modifiers. You don't want any Ancients with Spectral Hit, Extra Fast, or Lightning Enchanted, so make a Town Portal if any of them have modifiers you don't want. Once you're good, simply run in circles and lay traps when it's safe to do so. Eventually your trap should kill them, and as long as none of them have Extra Fast, you should be able to avoid most of their attacks. I was able to do it with Talak having Extra Fast, and he's known for being almost impossible to avoid because of this. His Whirlwind is absolutely insane. I was able to do it, but keep in mind I'm also very experienced with Diablo 2, so a newer player definitely does not want Extra Fast on Talak if possible. Now, if you have any trouble with Bale's minions, remember that you can kite them out of the main room and then rush back up to skip them entirely. I only ended up having trouble with the last wave because they had Extra Fast, but otherwise you should be able to get through normal Nightmare in Hell very easily with your traps, moving around to avoid damage, and then specifically in Nightmare in Hell you have that Mind Blast, again to make temporary tanks by mind controlling some of the minions, and of course you also have your Death Sentry and your Lightning Sentries. Overall, just absolutely insane class. Very well underrated in my opinion. Everyone loves to play Sorceress and Paladin, but Trap Assassin is definitely there, especially if you're playing solo. I hope you guys enjoyed this guide. I hope it was useful. And again, the martial arts video will come out sometime after Diablo 2 Resurrected. So if you were a martial arts assassin, I really apologize. I have to get that barbarian guide done, and unfortunately, I don't have time to make a second assassin. Once again, thank you guys so much for sticking around, and I'll hopefully see you on my next video.
I am impressed, Morgan. You have overcome the greatest challenge this world has ever faced and defeated the last of the prime evils. However, we are too late to save the World Stone. Bale's destructive touch has corrupted it completely. Given enough time, the World Stone's energies will drain away, and the barriers between the worlds will shatter. The powers of hell will flood into this sanctuary and eradicate your people and everything you've labored to build. Therefore, I must destroy the corrupted World Stone before the powers of hell take root. This act will change your world forever, with consequences even I cannot foresee. However, it is the only way to ensure mankind's survival. Go now, mortal. I have opened a portal that will lead you to safety. May the eternal light shine upon you and your descendants for what you've done this day. The continued survival of mankind is your legacy. Above all else, you have earned a rest from this endless battle.